Hi, Chris.
Hey Don, how you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little snacky today, Don.
Snacky?
Actually, yeah, got the
Snacky? Well, you
munchies.
can just jump right to it. You feel like you got the munchies. Uh, okay, let's talk snackies. So,
Oh,
as I had a customer I was on the phone with the other day, and they were asking what kind of industries we do work in, and I just encouraged them to go to the website, scroll down to the bottom, they find industries we serve, and in that is food and beverage. And within food and beverage, there's snack foods because we have a ton of customers in that snack foods space. And I guess snack foods probably mean different things to different people or whatever. But for us, snack foods are the goodies that come in a bag, and you sit on the couch and watch a movie and catch up on some snack stuff. But in terms of like how did we engage? How did we get started with some of those customers? Some were already customers using or already customers of Proficy, and they came to us for expansion or for support. And some we started the journey with them. And those, from a sales standpoint, when we were first engaged with those customers, it seemed like losses. Understanding their losses was really the initial focus for each of those. So, what's causing downtime? What's causing waste? What's causing efficiency loss on snack food lines?
just your basic efficiency play, the low hanging fruit. It's like make sure that the bagging machines are working properly and all that kind of stuff. It's making sure that you're getting the most throughput so that you can get it out the door.
Yeah, exactly. And some of our clients talk about being able to meet regulatory compliance without having to hit the filing cabinet for a few hours, and find the manual records of the batch or whatever, change over quickly and without all the chaos that comes with this changeover takes longer. Uh, we have to scrap material in order to get the changeover to happen, because we have to, I call it sneaking up on settings of equipment so that you get back to optimal and kind of the golden batch isn't kept. So, changeover, chaos, invisible OEE losses, things that are not obvious or that people know anecdotally. A lot of old equipment in snack food packaging, and so getting connected to legacy equipment and getting some of the process parameters and that sort of stuff. And then, of course, there's the age old. Well, we bought this system, but we didn't get good adoption. So let's talk a little bit about changeover and some ways maybe that people could leverage Proficy to make more efficient changeovers.
Certainly, the first thing we can bring up right away is understanding where the inefficiencies are, right? When you're talking about already measuring downtime, whether it's your baggers or fillers, you can have problems with your cartoners. And this is just on the packaging side of things. There's also the changeovers and the clean in places of whatever equipment you're using to make the product, the mixers and even the ovens. If you got sprinkles going on to your snack goods, then making sure that the sprinkles are working or being turned off when you don't need them, right? So there's a lot of different components from the process side all the way through the packaging side, making sure that the right labels are on there. And so when you think of it as one large team getting it set up for the next thing that you're making, it can be chaotic. And having some standard operating procedures in place are important. So there's a couple of angles. One of them is just making sure that every time you change over from one product to another, you can do it efficiently, and seeing maybe the team that's doing better than others, right? Maybe the night shift actually is very smooth when it's time to make that changeover, and we can look at their practices and what they're doing right to bring into the shift change, to train people up on the day shift or vice versa. So there's that downtime aspect, and then we can also of checklists, just making sure that everything's set up the way it needs to be. They're digitally marking off that it's correct. Maybe they're even putting in some comments for the supervisor for why things aren't correct and get somebody over there as quick as possible without having to use a radio. You can get a record right into your manufacturing system. And then also the ability to download machine set points is another capability, right? So you make it so that your MES understands all the products that are going, all the different set points for it, from the cooking and mixing all the way through to the the baggers, and making sure that they're running at the speeds and the temperatures that they're supposed to without taking a person's time and worrying about a mistake of them typing something incorrectly.
Lots of opportunities to reduce risk there.
Tons of opportunities across the board, you know. And the neat thing about Proficy Plant Applications is it's so flexible that it handles everything we just spoke about, like out of the box type stuff, right? Of course, you need an integrator to come in and make sure that it's being put in properly. And it's not like every one of these things we're talking about is like a bullet point feature. It has the capability to do it, and you really need somebody who says this is what it's capable of and how we do it in order to really make that entire chaos into a dance.
Right. And you know, as you, I know you worked with one of our customers specifically for a long time about kind of mastering that changeover. They were going through an autonomous maintenance effort, which is really just giving people, operators, supervisors right at the line, the authority, the training, the capability to make minor adjustments themselves, to do quick clean, inspect, and lube things, to empower the person that's right there to go ahead and make a change. And you went through that autonomous maintenance program, and I know that included a bunch of just the stuff you were just talking about, like having digital forms and a way to track those forms and a way to see how supervisors to see how their operators are advancing through that. To see how efficient they are at doing those things, or at least
getting them done.
Marking off the checklist, right?
Yep.
There's other things too.
And I want to say, by the way, if I could on that, because we were inspired to, because of all of them, help the software. It's like if we can figure out one thing that would just really knock home for a sub industry like snack foods, let's, as Rain Engineering, go in and make that widget. So with the modern operations hub interface, you can use the out-of-the-box pre-built stuff that Velotic provides with Proficy Plant Applications, and you can build your own things. And we found that a compliance report would be really helpful for this industry. So our team got a good set of developers on the team, put together that widget that then can just plunk right into the operations hub, and not only does it show what is being done and not being done, but it allows somebody to interact with it right there. A supervisor can go up to an operator and say, "What is this? And can we change this to a yes now?" And do it right there on that report. So it was important to. And by the way, it's important to empower the operators to be the operators. It's like they're the pilot of that piece of equipment. Let them understand it and know it at a deeper level. And it's going to bring that level of pride and understanding that this is what they're doing. And by doing so, you free up your maintenance team. Sometimes it's like, well, how is MES going to help with your HR? We don't have a lot of maintenance people in the area. Free up your maintenance team to worry about the really big high priorities, and free up their bandwidth, both their time and their mind energy on making sure that they're hitting those preventive maintenance issues or emergencies. So a lot to talk about, obviously.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a simple difference of a little bit of training, always, and having a wrench nearby to make an adjustment. And the other thing is that there's one behavioral thing it corrects a little bit, and that is that an operator may know what's wrong with their line. They may know which sensor is out of adjustment or whatever, and they may jiggle the cord on it or whatever, not really knowing exactly how to fix it, but they know that that's the problem. And they'll jiggle the wire 100 times to keep that line running rather than calling maintenance, which means an hour stoppage, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe it could mean an hour stoppage. It could mean a 5-minute adjustment by an electrician who happens to be available. But my point is that they'll avoid taking the proper steps to permanently fix the solution because they know they can jiggle the wire. And there's nothing wrong with that behavior, except that if you empower that person to make a more permanent fix, then it frees them up, frees their mind up to solve other problems. And really that has to be the goal of all of this is that when you empower an operator, you empower a supervisor to solve problems quickly and permanently, then it frees their mind to work on bigger problems, solve bigger problems for the company. It's not eliminating maintenance people, right? It's allowing the maintenance people to focus on bigger problems, right?
Exactly.
Without the distraction. So the other thing that we see a lot of is we have many snack food customers who, when they have a mock recall or a real recall, which are always in the news these days, they have to comply with the FDA regulatory things that say you have to respond this fast with this much information. And more and more, the FDA wants more and they want it quicker. And so the only way to do that is electronically. And many of our customers are still using paper to create the compliance reports. And so if there's a recall or a mock recall, it means they're hitting file cabinets to go find stuff from last week, last month, get the right amount of detail. And maybe it doesn't have the right amount of detail, or somebody left a place on the paper blank, and that causes more work even. So getting records, electronic records and reports in place that, number one, make sure that no field ever gets left empty because it's required compliance. And second, make it where you can respond to a recall or a mock recall in minutes, not hours or days. And so you meet the regulatory requirements, things like that. But it's another great place where PlanApps fits right in.
Yeah, taking all the stuff that people are supposed to be filling in, now they're filling it in, and now it's available for you when the recall happens. And all this regulatory stuff and recall, obviously it's helping keep the customer safe, and it's driving the manufacturing companies to take it to that next level. But when they get there, they realize just how much more capability they have in this MES once they do it. Because if you're doing all this, you're taking all this data that you're storing, it might be your process data and how it correlates to if it was even a good batch, like did you have to scrap a batch, right? So that process and quality information, doing tests at both the packaging side to see how the processing side matches to the packaging side. Not only are you able to do a recall quicker, but you're also able to improve your processes quicker and lock them in, or even in sometimes loosen your specifications to be more flexible, because now you have a track and trace from raw materials all the way to finished goods that was driven by that regulatory need. But then you start realizing what a gold mine of information you have there. So you get it out of the dead end filing cabinets, and you make that data available for your operations team, your quality team, and so you're seeing, the compliance of the operators putting the information in, and you're seeing the ability for regulatory stuff as well as continuous improvement.
So we talked about changeover and the chaos that comes with that sometimes. We talked about better electronic records and compliance. The other thing that we talk a lot about with these customers are invisible losses, really understanding the deeper level of OEE and TEP, really looking closer at where are our losses. It's not just downtime always. There's lots of things like an operator taking a second and adjusting a wire, or just wiggling that wire, and things slow down. We wiggle the wire. We never really know why it slowed down. The operator does, but no one else knows why it slowed down or why you lost efficiency throughout the day. So there's the invisible losses.
Yeah, and it's invisible because sometimes it's not captured, and sometimes there's just not the opportunities taken to look at it. Right, it's in plain view, but the coordination, maybe at a shift change or whatever, to do that handoff of knowledge basically is what you're talking about there, and knowing what went wrong, because people have that. It becomes more of a collective conversation. I think of even when there's issues, like you can even put comments down for your downtime. Then at shift change, you could have one operator talk to the next operator about what's coming up. The supervisor is involved, and it becomes more of a conversation. What I'd like to think of too is also just taking a report shift after shift, day after day, and looking back at the last 5 days and just look at, what were those numbers like? Why did this day all of a sudden we had
Mhm.
a lot more of this type of downtime? And it could be because, again, correlating it to the process side. If the process side is maybe baking the product a little bit different, it's going to be puffier. It's going to be harder to package. And so now that's going to cause more downtime, and there's a little bit more of a coordination. You can have those conversations even if it's just a simple PDF of your report of the last 5 days for people to look at and look for those patterns. Also looking for the bigger trends. And so the thing I'll finish with, as far as correlating between process and packaging side, is sometimes you're getting waste and kickoffs on your packaging side because of what happened on the process side. And for the two of the sides of them to coordinate and one hand know what the other hand is doing, just talk about invisible OE losses. Sometimes it's just bringing it to light in the moment right there on the plant floor so that people can see what's going on and make those corrections. That's really what it's about. You cannot fix what has already been done. Like, you have to have that visibility in the moment, in that real-time moment, to fix it.
Makes a huge difference. Changeover chaos, electronic batch and compliance records, invisible OE losses, legacy equipment gaps. One of the things that we end up talking to customers about a lot, they have older packaging equipment or disconnected packaging equipment, taking advantage of the connectivity capability of Proficy and the fact that it's hardware agnostic, and it happens to be a core competency for Rain to be able to connect just about any equipment to any process within Proficy, so that we can really get more information from the process automatically.
I love working at Rain Engineering and having that core competency to connect up the machines. I was just talking to Rex about how we even can have a software layer above the PLC where we can even consolidate the information before going out to the MES, and really that could actually lead to simpler MES implementations and less costs on historian tags. Just to geek out for a second, but we're always looking for what's the right way to connect things up and bring that information into the MES. There's the two sides of the interfaces, which is interfacing to the machines and then interfacing with the people. Yeah. Starting with pre-built powerful software, and then going the rest of the way to make it work with the process. One of the other things I wonder if you could talk about real quick is you saw a lot of connectivity issues with legacy stuff, and that really inspired you to come up with the assessment.
Yeah, I just found that I was talking to customers all the time about how hard or easy it can be to connect equipment and what are the circumstances. And in the days of big data, not that long ago, but I think you and I probably one of the times I got to know you was your former employee or employer had a big data days. I can't remember what they used to call it. Doesn't matter. But they invited me and my former partner to speak at that event. We came and talked about connectivity and big data. And one of the things I found that I talk to plant managers about all the time is they say, well, I want all the data, right? You and I have joked about this many a time. And I even have a customer today that's talking about connecting thousands of tags from a single machine to the historian so that they can connect AI to it. And my hesitation and my assertion to the customer is that first you need to organize that data. And the way you do that is to not collect thousands of data points, but to be deliberate about the data points. And the only way to be deliberate about what you're connecting is to understand what is the goal. And so
what is the
assessment became what was the proliferation of me trying to have that same conversation with customers over and over again. The assessment will tell you 5 things: what can be collected from the equipment, what it will take to collect it, how long will it take to get the connections made, how much will it cost, and how will this help you how will that data help you meet your goals? In other words, the integration of the data. How will that data integrate to your IT system? And so we it's a cost. There's a fee associated with it. It's fixed price based on the number of equipment you have. We come to your site. We do an evaluation of the equipment, open electrical panels and all that good stuff. Do the evaluation. When you're done, you get a report that tells you the 5 things that I just talked about. And you can take that to any integrator, any partner or whatever, but the point of that whole effort really is to understand what is it the customer's trying to do. So in the past, I might have a plant manager come to me and say, I want all the data. And I said, you want all the data pertaining to what? And he goes, well, I really need to know whether my machines are running or not, and I need to be notified when they're down. Okay, that's the specific goal. Now we're going to evaluate what data can be collected, and we'll tell you all the data, like if there's quality data that can be collected or whatever, but then you can focus the effort to say, in order to get the goal that you talked about, it's going to cost this much and it's going to take this long to get connected, and it has this much effort. So yeah, that whole getting legacy equipment connected and the assessment has been an important part of our business, but more importantly, it improves the success and adoption for customers because
I mean, for me, especially in the context of this conversation, is snack food companies have been around for a long time. There's going to be some older machines, and it's like the barrier for them to even get started with this is like, hey, Don, Chris, it's great that you're talking about all this, but I don't even know where to start with these machines, right? And the assessment really is just like enough cost to pay for the people to come out and just do the work. It's a really great deal, and it gets you over that barrier of saying, what is it? How do we connect these machines? And like you said, gets them thinking, what are we even going to do with the data once we have it?
It removes so many roadblocks because it takes away the technical roadblock of connecting the machines. It takes away the skepticism about why are we doing this and what benefit will come from it. And it takes away the resistance to better IT systems, better MES systems, because you now know you now have a specific problem to go solve. And you now know you can do that with help from the equipment. And you get better adoption when you have more data populated by automatic systems. And so kind of the last point we wanted to talk about today actually is operator adoption. Yep. And that means screens that are purpose-built, it means interfaces like getting data from equipment automatically, and it means interfaces like connecting to various systems, the other systems that you use, to bring all the data to one place, to give it the right data structure and organization. So when you ask those questions, when you begin to create the context, that you have as much data coming in automatically as you can, that you have operator screens that reduce the number of clicks that you can, and you do everything you can to make the people who are using the system, to make their daily lives easier, reduce the number of steps that it takes for them to do the daily job, to get product out the door, and also maybe reduce the things that they have to do manually that are mind-numbing and annoying, and free their minds to do other things like we talked about with changeover and invisible losses.
Implementing any new system is going to be a disruption, and that's why, as much of an MES implementation is about technology, it's just as much about this cultural adoption side of it as well, and getting people to realize that, yeah, by definition, things are going to change, but they're going to change for the better. And I'm glad the way it worked out that this ended up being the last thing we're talking about, because whether it's changeover chaos or people understanding that we're doing this because of regulatory stuff is making us do it, or we're having better conversations at shift change and we're able to uncover OEE losses, especially with the idea of getting that data from the legacy equipment, means instead of having to have them write down on paper any downtime that's over 5 minutes, we're removing that burden from them and instead giving them information, like you said, better adoption, because they're seeing alerts, they're seeing the information that lets them know if they do need to jiggle that wire. And then they're only putting in a little bit of information, and they're learning why they're doing this first. Because there's some people that maybe have never even used a computer before. We've run into it. And why they're going through this, and then teaching them what they need to do as part of their role, including like taking over more responsibilities with autonomous maintenance, right? Like, and giving them the ability to see, I had a good day or I had a bad day.
Yeah.
And so when you do all that, it's the adoption. Of course, there's also the training component. Here's how you actually use your system, and here's the pre-built stuff that Velotic Proficy came with, and here's a little bit of something that Rain Engineering built that's purpose built. It's just interface layer that's going to allow you to only do 1 click instead of 5, because that's all you need for this part of the process, right? So all of that training, operator manipulation of the data, and all the reasons why leads to good cultural adoption across the plant, because it's just gonna, everyone understands their part in this new way of working in the 21st century.
It'll pay for itself faster, and it'll do more. So that's snack foods. We've been trying to catch up on snack food manufacturing for a while now. If you want to know more about snack food and the use of Proficy in the snack food industry, you can go to raineng.com and scroll down to the bottom, click on industries we serve, food and beverage, snack foods, and there's plenty of other industries there too. If you happen to be watching, but you're in another industry, plenty of other industries we serve too. So if you like these conversations that we're having, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave comments below. Any other great words of advice, Chris, about engagement or?
I like reading the comments. So just, we're trying to put out content that is relevant to people that'll be useful, and hope this experience here was good as well.
Thank you.